For me, the guy who invented money, U.S. savings bonds are a big improvement.
NBC News and News Center 13, where the news comes first 24 hours a day.
The Democratic presidential candidate court black voters, a campaign with no black candidate.
This is NBC Nightly News, reported by Garrick, Utley.
Good evening. If you think there is something missing in this year's presidential campaign, here's one possibility: Jesse Jackson. In fact, this is the first time since 1980 that he has not been running for the White House. For the Democratic candidates, though, black voters, traditionally loyal Democrats, are important. So today, the candidates, all of them, all showed up at a meeting hosted by Jesse Jackson. No endorsements were expected, none given. In Washington, here's Lisa Myers.
One after one, they paid homage to Jesse Jackson, who warned the candidates that they ignore black voters at their peril.
We must come together, and we shall fail and perish apart.
Since Governor Douglas Wilder dropped out of the race, the 5 remaining candidates have intensified their appeals to black voters, who comprise 20% of the Democratic primary vote. Today's audience made it clear that those votes will not be won easily.
So they better begin to address the fact how they're going to bring some real kind of representation and real kind of services to all of America, especially to black America.
Most of these people are running from a party whose position is, and I quote, "We must recapture the white male vote."
Arkansas Governor Bill Clinton, who has made some inroads into the black community, said his appeals to the middle class are not meant to exclude minorities and the poor.
And if trying to restore the middle class in this country is a code word for racism, we're in deep trouble. We might as well just fold our tent and go home.
Clinton and Nebraska Senator Bob Kerrey also were grilled about their support for the death penalty. Clinton dealt with the issue head on.
I respect your right to disagree.
Kerrey turned most questions into a plug for his national health insurance plan. He did connect with the audience by associating his pain and suffering after the Vietnam War with the pain and suffering of minorities.
I do know what it's like to feel betrayed and to feel as if you may not have a chance again.
Senator Tom Harkin of Iowa declared himself champion of the poor and downtrodden.
Yes, I'm the real Democrat because I've got the longest record of opposition to Reagan and Bush trickle-down policies.
Former Massachusetts Senator Paul Tsongas campaigned against the latest political fad, a middle-class tax cut.
I don't want to give the middle class a tax cut. I want to give them a job so they can work.
Former California Governor Jerry Brown went furthest to please his audience, promising that if nominated, he would choose a black running mate.
I think one of the best candidates is standing right in the first row. Right there.
With Jackson supporters sprinkled throughout the campaigns, there probably will be no monolithic black vote in the primaries. The candidates are hoping their economic messages eventually will generate some excitement. Lisa Myers, NBC News, Washington.
Well, if the economy is the most important political issue in this campaign this year, and it certainly is, then it's particularly important to blacks because they are hurting the most. Deborah Roberts reports now on what that could mean for the candidates.
Hold on, the lipstick color. Yeah, I think I will try that today.
There's nothing pretty profits at Celestine Beverly's small cosmetics shop. Business is down 25%. Many of her customers have lost their jobs. Now Celestine worries about hers.
I feel good going to work because I have a job to go to. I feel threatened and scared at night because by morning things may change.
Number 25.
Losing a job is one of the biggest fears among blacks lately, and for good reason. The unemployment rate among blacks is twice that of whites.
We need jobs, period. Jobs. Black people are further behind now than we were 30 years ago.
Historically, blacks have turned to the Democrats to make life better. More than half of black voters still cling to the party. But some now worry the black community is being taken for granted.
I think they have a long way to go to put together a program of inclusiveness. I think there is some fear and some intimidation on the part of the Democratic Party that they are a party of black people.
Atlanta City Council member Devetta Johnson is a lifelong Democrat who's feeling disappointed in her party this election year.
Americans, without a black candidate, with a total focus on mainstreaming toward middle America, I think the agenda of black America and poor America gets totally lost in the shuffle.
In this Atlanta barbershop, some voters are already feeling discouraged.
If the elections were to be held this evening, I wouldn't vote at all.
A sign that Democrats will have to earn black support this year. Deborah Roberts, NBC News, Atlanta.
As we cover our world this day, we'll follow the latest incidents of Japan bashing in this country and talk live with a top American trade negotiator. And this evening on our Focus Report, they thought they'd be able to fix up their home. Instead, they lost it. We'll show you what happened.
For painful gas, which would you choose? Your antacid or Gas-X, the tablet made for gas? It's extra strength, 100% simethicone to fight gas faster. Faster than your antacid. Fight gas right with Gas-X.
To get rid of her gray, my wife can spend 40 minutes. But I discovered the 5-minute hair coloring.
The revolutionary discovery called Just for Men from the leader in men's hair coloring. Simply apply Just for Men and in 5 minutes shampoo out.
Gray is blended away. The look of my natural color is back in 5 minutes. That was me, and it won't fade or wash out.
My hair takes forever, but you look great in just 5 minutes.
The look of your natural color in just 5 minutes with Just for Men.
Campbell's heard your healthy request.
Low fat.
Less salt.
But lots of taste.
Here's our answer. New Campbell's Healthy Request ready-to-serve soups. All the great taste you want without some things you don't. New Campbell's Healthy Request. And healthy.
It has become a kind of human yardstick of the current recession. Lines of people looking for work. Today, you saw it in California. In Pasadena, about 2,000 people lined up at a job fair held by a mortgage bank. With a surge in refinancing, the company's business is booming. Still, it'll hire only 200 of the 2,000, and they'll have to be experienced real estate professionals. While that was happening, the finance ministers of 7 of the world's richest nations met today in a hotel near Kennedy Airport in New York City. The ministers are sort of a board of directors of the world economy. The United States wants Japan and Germany to do more to push economic growth, but today, both the Germans and the Japanese indicated strongly that they feel they're already doing enough and don't look to them for more help. Well, trade tensions with Japan have been running high this past week in this country, words and actions straining the important economic ties between the two nations. Here's Diana Karicki in Los Angeles.
U.S. workers were ecstatic this week when L.A. County revoked the contract to buy automated trains from Japan's Sumitomo Corporation. The backlash reminded a Japanese-American official of his parents' internment during World War II.
And everybody says that it's going to never happen again. But I'm going to tell you right now, yes, it can happen again. And I think we're going to have to work a little bit harder.
Suddenly, Buy American sentiment is everywhere. Partly a good-hearted attempt to rev up the U.S. economy, but bordering very closely on racism. When Dr. William Lippy offered cash to Clevelanders to buy U.S. cars...
Here's a list of 25 people who have just called in the last hour.
In Cincinnati, Judy Williams decided to trash her Toyota to send a message to Japan.
My eyes fell upon that Toyota, which I hated buying in the first place. Hey!
Anti-Japan sentiment is rising to such a pitch, deals Americans want to do with the Japanese may unravel. The owner of the Seattle Mariners hopes to sell the team to investors backed by Nintendo. Baseball Commissioner Fay Vincent has signaled no go. But residents don't care who owns the Mariners, so long as they stay in Seattle. Buying American isn't always simple. The town board of Greece, New York decided not to buy a Komatsu earth mover, opting instead for a John Deere. Turns out, though, that the Komatsu was made in the U.S., and the John Deere assembled in Japan. Diana Karicki, NBC News, Los Angeles.
So what does this friction with Japan lead to? What could it lead to? Let's talk now with U.S. Trade Representative Carla Hills, who is our chief trade negotiator. Ambassador Hills, thank you for being with us this evening. When you see scenes, as we saw this past week, they're angry Americans, how do you react to that?
We have to get the market of Japan open so that we stop this bashing on both sides of the Pacific. It doesn't serve either of our interests well to have the kind of thing that you demonstrated in this segment just before.
Does that help or hurt you in your negotiations with the Japanese when they see this American frustration and anger?
It doesn't help to have the bashing, but Japan must open its market, and we must get the facts out to Americans how much they have changed in the last half-decade. You know, in the last 3 years since President Bush came to office, our exports to Japan are up 30%, and that we are selling more to Japan than we are to Germany, France, and Italy combined. They're our second largest customer. You don't usually bash your customer. It doesn't help.
Now, many Americans see it as an either-or situation, buying Japanese or America, but we just saw an incident in this town in New York where they wanted to buy the Komatsu. They discovered it was built in the United States. The John Deere was built in Japan. In effect, are we becoming the two countries' Siamese twins that can't be separated economically?
It demonstrates we have a globalized economy, and we need to get markets open all around the world. That was what the president was trying to do in his trip to Japan, and he succeeded. As a result of the visibility that he gave to the economy, we opened a $9 billion computer market, which has very much pleased our computer industry. $4 billion glass market, $65 billion paper market. All that provides jobs for $1 billion in exports, creates 20,000 new jobs here.
We've heard a lot of statements coming from Japanese officials today. Another one, a member of Parliament, Shintaro Ishihara, you know him, he's a well-known critic of the United States. He said, the real problem in the United States are not American workers, but American management. Any truth in that, in your view?
I think that we ought not to criticize American workers or American managers. We all can make some improvements. We've got to get the markets open so that we can have a competitive shot at the second largest industrialized market in the world.
All right, thank you, Ambassador Hills, for being with us this evening. And by the way, tomorrow morning, the question of protectionism will be debated on Sunday Today. Thank you for being with us. Speaking of changing financial fortunes, this from London, Queen Elizabeth's fortune is going down considerably. Once she was rated among the richest women in the world, today The Economist magazine there reported that she has spent much of her wealth to help members of her immediate family. Her personal portfolio is now down to less than $90 million. Well, changing gears and subjects in this country, in New York City today, the issue is Cuba and American sanctions, economic ones, against the Castro regime. More than 20,000 anti-Castro demonstrators marched in Midtown Manhattan. They brought their protest to a convention center where another group was calling for the lifting of sanctions against Cuba. A handful of anti-Castro demonstrators got inside the center, but they were stopped by security forces. And when we continue, we'll focus on the perils of home improvement.
Some days my minor arthritis acts up, and I really feel the pain. I used to take aspirin. Now I've switched to Advil. Advil relieves the pain in my stiff joints. In fact, one Advil is as effective as 2 regular aspirin. And Advil is gentler to my stomach. Maybe that's why doctors recommend Advil for minor arthritis pain more than any other brand. For my pain, I simply prefer Advil. Advil, advanced medicine for pain.
Mary Brody won't feel the tiny lump in her breast for another 2 years. But she'll discover it tomorrow after her first mammogram, thanks in part to a new X-ray film created by DuPont that makes it safer to start mammography early. And for Mary, early detection means a 2-year head start on the rest of her life. At DuPont, we make the things that make a difference.
Red Lobster knows the colder the water, the sweeter the snow crab. So now, just for January, we bring you special prices on 7 platters of the sweetest snow crab ever, direct from the icy Bering Sea. Hurry to Red Lobster.
It's Red Lobster's lunch special. For a short time, get shrimp and chicken for just $3.99. Golden fried shrimp and grilled chicken breast with salad and baked potato, only $3.99. Now, every day at Red Lobster for lunch.
On Focus this evening, the horrors of home repair. Now, of course, it seems obvious that homeowners should not sign legally binding contracts which they haven't completely read or fully understood. Yet people do it from time to time, often under pressure from unscrupulous contractors. The contractors may not be doing anything illegal, but the results can be devastating. Here's Noah Nelson in Georgia.
Hear ye. They're up for sale. It's $67,000 for the property. Any other bid?
The first Tuesday of the month. In Georgia, it's the day that foreclosed homes are sold off on the courthouse steps. Christine and Robert Hill have lost their home. 2 years ago, they contracted for a new roof and found themselves in trouble.
And I told them, you know, that we didn't have any credit because everything that we always bought, we just paid cash for it. And they said something could be worked out, so they came out.
The Hills had been targeted by a tin man, one of the unscrupulous contractors who prowl these black and working-class neighborhoods looking for cash-poor owners in need of home repairs. The Hills didn't get what they paid for. The new roof leaked, and the contract wasn't what it seemed.
I sat down and I got the papers, and then I started to add up. And I started picking up what, the price, what we was paying. I said, well, done, that's double.
The tin man had promised low monthly payments, but the Hills had agreed to a $21,000 mortgage on their house at 23% interest, financing they couldn't afford.
They pester homeowners. They call them over and over again. They come back to their homes over and over again until they get their signatures on the contract.
I was signing, but we didn't know what we were really signing.
The same tin man who approached the Hills also found Frank and Annie Ruth Bennett. Their legal aid attorney is Jeff Sakis.
Well, he promised them that he would fix the roof, put siding on their house, fix their ceiling, provide them with new furniture, and get them financing.
Pieces come down in pieces. The Bennett's new living room ceiling collapsed a year ago. It hasn't been repaired. But they must continue making their monthly $469 loan payment or face foreclosure.
Right here, you sit right here. Come on.
Meet the man who installed that ceiling and put the roof on the Hills house. His name is Rocky Cathy. His company is Modern Home Products.
Anyway, we do a lot of work through the FHA Title I program.
He wouldn't return our phone calls. Atlanta homeowner Edith Edwards agreed to ask Cathy over for an estimate so that we could question it. You don't know the Bennetts who live on Woodlawn?
Woodlawn?
Here in Atlanta? You know, you did a ceiling for them. Replaced the ceiling, supposedly painted some things in their house, and now the ceiling is falling down. Came out several times to repair it, but it's still, there's a big gaping hole in their living room ceiling. You're not familiar with that family?
I don't guess we need to talk anymore. I'm not for... I don't understand what you're doing.
In Savannah, Rosella McGirt has been battling a tin man for 7 years. After $12,000 in payments, her house is barely livable.
Dirty walls, half sheetrock, no paint, no tape, no nothing on it. The floor's untiled, cracked walls.
Because of the shaky nature of these deals, the tin man needs a respectable middleman, a mortgage broker. The broker then finds a finance company willing to fund the loans. All these loans were sold to Fleet Finance, an arm of the Fleet North Star Bank and the second largest servicer of mortgages in the nation. Long after the tin men have disappeared, the homeowners are still paying Fleet.
Because of the high interest rates that are involved, if the homeowners do pay Fleet, Fleet makes a very healthy profit from the interest. If the homeowner doesn't pay Fleet, then they foreclose, so either way, they're doing very well.
Fleet officials won't talk to us on camera. Off camera, they claim there is no way for them to tell if a tin man is involved in one of their deals. But in the last 4 years, Fleet has been named in tin man suits in at least 3 different states. Fleet claims that it's the broker's responsibility to weed out tin men, that Fleet will sever ties with any who don't. Ed Pearson is a former Fleet-approved mortgage broker who has traded accusations with the company in the past. He claims Fleet ignores how these loans are made.
For them to say that they don't know what this company does or that company does is ludicrous.
Atlanta Legal Aid has now filed a class action lawsuit against Fleet, alleging predatory and fraudulent loan practices. And why do some of the people you've done business with feel they've been taken? The tin men thrive in any state where regulation of the home improvement and second mortgage industries is weak. And Fleet is not the only finance company buying these loans. If you think you've been victimized by a tin man, get legal help right away. If you're approached about having repair work done, ask for references. Be careful, or your property might end up on the courthouse steps.
So look at it like this. If we hadn't ever been bothered with them, we would have been just about through paying for the house.
And now?
And now, nothing. We have nothing.
Outstanding liens against the property for $40,000.
Noah Nelson, NBC News, Atlanta.
More news and a look at how Minnesota is cashing in on the Super Bowl as we continue.
Cutbacks continue. Fine. recession.
Daycare. No time.
You never needed it more. 1,000 milligrams of pain relief for today's headaches. Introducing new extra strength Bayer Plus with stomach guard. Now there's no pain you can't bear.
You know, it's not something we talk about. But when Raymond gets...
Gets what?
Constipated.
What?
I give him Phillips milk with magnesia.
Put that away.
Phillips works overnight and immediately starts soothing the stomach acid Ray sometimes gets when he's feeling...
Oh, Marie.
Well, it's true, dear.
But you don't even know these people.
Oh, what people do to clean tough stains under the rim. Because for some bowl cleaners, that's a real stretch. Try a different angle. The angle neck of Lysol Toilet Bowl Cleaner. It easily goes under the rim and wipes out stains and germs. Don't get bent out of shape. Get Lysol Toilet Bowl Cleaner, the heavyweight with a powerful angle on cleaning.
Did you know the cost of 2 9-page fax transmissions from these Philadelphia newspapers to Chicago may surprise you?
I got an exclusive interview.
With AT&T Pro Watts, your business can't get a more accurate way to send a fax.
He talks a lot.
And our prices are extremely competitive, even though the other company would like you to believe they always save you lots of money.
Wait a minute. That's news to me. Can I quote you on that?
AT&T Pro Watts, another AT&T advantage.
Extra Strength Maalox Plus, the strongest antacid there is, now comes in extra strength tablets. Stronger than Tums, stronger than Rolaids. New Extra Strength Maalox Plus, now in tablets.
It's the strongest, and my stomach tells me it's fast. Take your favorite cereals. What if all you could see were the side panels? You'd find only one of these is low in sugar and a good source of fiber and made from whole grain oats. Cheerios. See for yourself. The choice is Cheerios.
Time now for a look at some of the stories which made news this past week. In Washington, officials from 47 nations met to help the former Soviet Union. President Bush pledged $645 million, but Russia's going to need a lot more help for a long time to come. Abortion demonstrations on the 19th anniversary of the Roe versus Wade decision. And the Supreme Court said it will look at a Pennsylvania law which could affect that historic ruling. The week brought news of big defense cuts coming, including the planned elimination of multiple warheads on nuclear missiles, the reduction of the number of planes and submarines. It's called the peace dividend. But there is the human cost of it. United Technologies announced it will lay off almost 14,000 workers because of the recession and lowered defense spending.
Mission Control.
Space Shuttle Discovery is in orbit with crew members from 3 countries. One part of their mission, growing perfect crystals in zero gravity. One problem on board, the toilet didn't flush. But that problem has been fixed, we're happy to report tonight. Well, back here on Earth, we come now to that annual rite and ritual known as the Super Bowl. It is tomorrow in Minneapolis. And Mike Betcher is keeping score of the money that is being made on what is, after all, only a game.
Not rain, nor sleet, nor even snow will keep a fan from his appointed game, nor keep $1 from Minnesota's pocket.
The early estimates are $120 million hard cash spent this week by the 100,000 people who come into town. Long-range economic estimates that the host of a Super Bowl should benefit to the tune of $200 million.
Predictions that winters and Super Bowls don't mix went unfulfilled. Snow and freezing temperatures did not dampen the will to spend.
We better take one of each anyway.
Okay. Did you want a Bill's hat?
And a Bill's hat.
Minneapolis proved that money can be spent as quickly indoors as outdoors.
This one's $275, this is $120, this is $175.
The recession is vacationing here too this week. The Super Bowl has become a game for high rollers. An estimated 27% who will attend own their own companies. They are filling every room, reserving every car, packing every restaurant. And this is just the immediate impact. There will be further benefits for Minneapolis and St. Paul.
It could mean that rather than Minnesota being a place that hosts a sort of medium level of convention, which has been historically the case, that we could now move to a whole another level of hosting, and that we could actually double the size of our calendar.
The Twin Cities have dressed for this occasion. If they had wanted to buy a minute's advertising to promote themselves during the game, it would have cost more than $1.5 million. Instead, they have bought a Super Bowl's worth of free promotion. It has found money in hard times. Mike Betcher, NBC News, Minneapolis.
And I'll have some final thoughts in just a moment.
Paradise surrounds me. There's no place like this on land. All my cares, they're behind me. The world's in my command.
The most magnificent resorts on Earth are on water. Royal Caribbean, the grand resorts of the 7 seas.
Extra Strength Malox Plus, the strongest antacid there is, now comes in extra strength tablets. Stronger than Tums, stronger than Rolaids. New Extra Strength Malox Plus, now in tablets.
It's the strongest, and my stomach tells me it's fast.
I use a shampoo for dandruff, but my scalp still itches like crazy.
You need new Scalpicin, the revolutionary scalp medicine for deep scalp itch, not ordinary dandruff. Scalpicin is not a shampoo. It's a clear liquid you don't wash away like shampoo. Apply Scalpicin anytime for deep scalp itch relief with medicine chosen by doctors over all these dandruff shampoo formulas. Scalpicin penetrates to relieve the itch and help prevent flaking.
The itch is gone.
New Scalpicin, the scalp medicine for deep scalp itch.
There's constipation and there's constipation. Oh, yeah. When it's this bad, take it to the max. New Maximum Relief Formula X-Lax pills with 50% more X-Lax medicine for maximum relief. Oh, yeah. Take it to the max.
I'd like to talk to you about an invisible problem. The invisible bacteria that cause denture odor. Fortunately, antibacterial Effident kills those odor-causing bacteria for clean, fresh dentures.
Antibacterial Effident.
Read my lips.
Read my
The State of the Union, and it may be the most important speech of his presidency. Of course, I'm not a speechwriter, but here is what he could say about the economy and us. Yes, times are tough because of mistakes we made in the past, including voodoo economics, supported by George Bush, among others. But he could also say this: look what we have going for us, the potential for a solid, sensible recovery and growth. Interest rates are low. Inflation is not a worry. New markets are opening up from Mexico to Moldavia, and now dramatic cuts are coming in defense spending, which will free up money and people for more productive use. That peace dividend. The ingredients are there for an optimistic future. The problem, of course, is not the promise of tomorrow, but rather the pain of today. What do you tell a defense worker laid off except that the Cold War is over and we won? And yet it is that victory which provides the very foundation for recovery. So, how do we get from here to there? Explaining that is the real test of a president. George Bush has often talked about the, quote, vision thing as if it were not so important. Well, Mr. President, Tuesday night it will be important for you and for us. And that is our look at our world this day. Join us tomorrow morning for Sunday Today, followed by Meet the Press. I'm Garrick Utley. Good night for NBC News.
Tonight, is Blanche trying too hard to get her man?
Sounds to me like you put out before dinner again.
It's the new Golden Girls. Then a problem child raises hell on a new Walter and Emily. And Hook's in trouble.
Your fly's open.
On Empty Nest. And then a friend's laid to rest.
I want to be laid in this forest.
On Nurses on NBC tonight.
Next week on Today, Rob Lowe, Natalie Cole, Aaron Neville, and sex. How it's used to sell, sell, sell. I'm Katie Couric. Join us next week on Today.
Coming up next from News Center 13, the Senate Ethics Committee will reconvene its investigation of Joe Welch. Senate Republicans say they will offer new charges against him Monday. We'll have the latest.
And dozens of Marshalltown city workers bracing for layoffs next week. Residents cry foul. I'm Sharon Holland. I'll tell you about their efforts to fire the city administrator.
And overcoming disabilities to learn a life-saving technique.
Jerry has warmer weather inside, and Pat with the cyclones. All next on the News at 6.
Hard work and a respect for the good earth. Midwestern traditions that help produce some of the world's highest quality foods, like pork, And now, participating McDonald's are bringing back a favorite, the delicious McRib sandwich at a special value. Boneless pork simmered in sassy barbecue sauce, nestled on pickles and onions on a home-style roll, but only for a limited time. Good food from the good earth, from America's heartland. The McRib at participating McDonald's.
Attention, furniture shoppers. If you're in the market for new furniture, shop Don's new Bassett Motion showroom today. Don's new selection of Bassett reclining sofas, reclining love seats, reclining sectionals, sleeper sectionals, and Bassett reclining chairs just can't be beat for quality and dependability. Bassett is a name you can trust, and Don's Wholesale Furniture is the furniture store Central Iowa has come to rely on for everyday low prices. Credit cards accepted, layaway, and easy finance terms are available. Don's Wholesale Furniture, located at 4401 Northeast 14th Street, Des Moines.
You're watching WHO TV 13 Des Moines, your 24-hour news source. This is News Center 13 at 6.
Hundreds of Marshalltown residents signed this petition to oust the city administrator in the wake of the Iowa Trust scandal. Good evening. Thanks for being here. Marshalltown residents are furious about the city administrator's plan to lay off dozens of employees.
Now residents are demanding the city council fire the administrator. News Center 13 Sharon Holland spoke with the administrator and the organizers of that petition drive today. She is back from Marshalltown and joins us in the newsroom with the latest on the story. Sharon?
Well, Scott, Marshalltown had millions tied up in the Iowa Trust. The city administrator says without that money, they can't afford to pay the workers, but some Marshalltown residents say they never wanted the administrator in the first place, and if anyone's going to be fired, it should be him. These petitions demand the firing of the city administrator. Daryl Gonzalez, a retired sheriff, started the drive. He has 400 signatures, including some city workers, to be laid off. Gonzalez blames the city administrator for Marshalltown's financial mess.
I've got nothing against the man personally. In fact, I've never met him before. But I think it's costing the taxpayers an awful lot of money.
If we don't have the money, we can't legally operate and continue to operate knowing that we have a deficit. We can't pay people with money we don't have.
Gonzalez won't comment on the petition drive to have him fired. He's ordered the layoffs of 85 city workers, a move he says will save more than $250,000. The petitions will be presented here to the city council on Monday. However, it's unlikely they'll have any effect on the layoffs, scheduled to go into effect Friday. In the meantime, Marshalltown is reeling from other cutbacks. Take these side streets. They haven't been plowed, and they won't be this weekend. The city says it can't afford to pay workers overtime. Residents like Gonzalez say it's reasons like that they want to get rid of the city administrator.
Now, in the past, we've had no problem before we got the city administrator form of government. We had the mayor or council form of government, and we never had any problems like this.
Now, the city administrator says he has been meeting with the workers' unions to try and save those jobs, and they'll meet at least once more, but Gazelle says eventually every single city employee is going to feel the cutbacks, either through layoffs, pay reductions, or possibly wage freezes. Scott?
All right, Sharon Holland reporting for us. Thank you. Therese?
The Iowa State House is still reeling from the bombshell dropped by Senator Jean Lloyd Jones yesterday. The Ethics Committee will reconvene to answer questions about Senator Joe Welch's involvement with the Iowa Trust fraud. The committee dropped the Welch investigation last Wednesday, and the public outcry since seemingly forced them to change their minds. And now there are new allegations that Welch was blackmailing the Ethics Committee, threatening charges against 14 other senators. Both Republicans and Democrats want to get to the bottom of it.
First question that comes to my mind, besides her, did he have allegations against other committee members that were on the Ethics Committee, and is that some reason they decided to shut down the meeting? That needs to be answered, because even the Ethics Committee members might not be aware of the charges being filed, or they might be aware. I think we need to know the answer to that.
And Senator Kinley is not alone. Minority Leader Jack Rife says the Senate cannot function until the truth comes out. And Republicans are planning on filing charges of their own against Welch on Monday. Iowa's Attorney General Bonnie Campbell says she is shocked by the way the Senate is handling the ethics allegations, and she's warning them to clean this mess up. Campbell said, quote, "If people think these ethics questions will go away, I'd ask they think back to Watergate. People don't forget." Campbell went on to say she was extremely disappointed that the Welch ethics investigation was dropped in the first place.
And apparently so are a majority of Central Iowans. We took our cameras to the streets today to get your opinion on the Welch investigation, and the results were unanimous.
As taxpayers, we have a right to know what's going on with our elected officials. I was really disappointed that they closed it. I'm sorry that the pressure was forced them to reopen it, but it should have been done and it needs to be done.
Well, it's something that needs to be cleared up, and they can't sweep it under the rug. And this is the only thing they can do.
Well, I feel there needs a more investigation about it.
Something like that should be investigated. If that's taking place, we should not close the door on the issue. It should be fully looked into.
Now, as Therese said, Senate leaders say they will reconvene the Ethics Committee so lawmakers can ask questions about the investigation of Senator Welsh. Is that a good idea or not? We want to know what you think. Our In Touch question tonight asks, do you agree with the decision to reconvene the Ethics Committee concerning the Joe Welsh case? To register your vote, dial 246-5600, category 8000, and then to vote yes, press 1, and to vote no, press 2. We'll have partial results a little bit later in the newscast.
The Operation Rescue headquarters in Des Moines was vandalized overnight. A witness says it happened around 3 this morning. Someone threw paint on the windows and the door of the office. Operation Rescue is a pro-life group that is known for trying to stop abortions by blocking clinic doorways and sometimes entering the clinics to shut down equipment. So far, there are no suspects in the case. A 6-year-old is fighting for his life tonight after being accidentally shot in the head. Brandon Watts of Keokuk was shot when his 12-year-old uncle was handling a loaded rifle. Authorities say the 12-year-old did not know that the gun was loaded until it went off. Watts was flown to university hospitals in Iowa City. He is in serious condition with a wound to the top of his head.
Opening day for the Iowa Cubs still a few months away, but it's looking like the team's new home will be ready. Crews continue construction of the new $8 million Sec Taylor Stadium this weekend. Officials say the superstructure is pretty much up, and crews are now concentrating on pouring the concrete floors throughout the facility. Once that's completed, finish work on the interior can get underway. Workers say the cold weather really hasn't been too much of a problem, but they can do without the wind, rain, and snow. Construction, they say, is about a week ahead of schedule. Fortunately, I think we've probably seen the last of the snow, at least for a while. The folks down at Sec Taylor are going to like that, Jerry Reno. He joins us from the Weather Center for the first look at the forecast.
Well, and the winds have died down, too. Now they're out of the north at around 5 miles per hour. Actually, we've got a little bit of a warming trend coming up. And in our weathercast in just a few moments, we'll show you what the weather's going to look like over the next 90 days or so. And it'll be warmth to your heart. Trust me. We'll have the complete details coming up in just a second.
All right, thanks, Jerry. 15 Des Moines area students didn't let their disabilities stand in the way of learning to save lives today. That story's still ahead.
And wildlife biologists taking advantage of an annual tradition to learn more about the migrators. We'll have more news after this.